murder case against a 36-year-old Andile Mthembu accused of murdering her nephew has been postponed to the 12th of April for further investigations. Mthembu was arrested on Friday and charged with the murder after allegedly assaulting her nephew to death. Tshegohaco Moagi is in Tsakane for us and following developments here. So, Tshegohaco, what do we know at this hour at least?
Well, good afternoon, Dudu. So very little information that we currently have regarding this particular case. She did abandon her bail. Andile did abandon her bail at the Tsakane Magistrates Court. She will be appearing once again on the 12th of April for further investigations. That's why it was postponed to that particular day. We did have a very brief conversation with some of the neighbors here who have told us that Andile was a quiet person. She kept to herself. And she really did not speak much to the neighbors in this area. However, there were concerns for the identities of these neighbors. They have been very afraid to actually speak to the media, and they are saying that they're actually afraid of Andile herself. This house here that my colleague is currently showing you in Jabulo, this is the house where Andile was actually living, and we understand that she kept to herself, and as much as people around here knew of her, very few actually spoke to her. And we understand that in court she confessed in front of the magistrate in his chambers that she indeed committed the alleged offences because the nephew had admitted to stealing money from her. So you'd remember that Andile Mthembu, she's 36-year-old, and she is now accused of killing her 16-year-old nephew by assaulting him with a stick and then forced her 14-year-old son to hold the deceased down while being assaulted to death. So we understand now, according to the recent police, the NPA statement that has just come out, that she has confessed to what she has done. She's currently charged with murder. She's currently charged also with perjury and defeating the ends of justice. And she was arrested on Friday, the 1st of April.
So what do we know about the murdered boy, the 16-year-old?
Well, all that we know is that this was a nephew to Andile Mthembu. They lived together. We understand that he came here because he was sometimes a disorderly child, or a naughty child, really, to put it that way. So he came here, and he often came to visit his aunt Andile Mthembu here at this home in Tsakane. But this time, it's quite interesting how things have turned out. You know, the family also saying that they are quite shocked at what has happened because they knew Andile Mthembu, they trusted her with their child, and so such an incident has really shocked them, but also shocked the neighbors in this area as well. We do know, of course, that the police were here. They dug up the body from one of the neighbors that we spoke to off camera, mentioning to me that the actual incident of the police being here happened on the Thursday after a relative in KwaZulu-Natal sent this information to the family to the police about what had happened. So the police were here on Thursday already and on Friday they then came over to continue with their investigations, and that's when they found the gruesome body of the 16-year-old. But we understand that they had a good relationship because he would often come here to visit his aunt.
You spoke to his grandmother, Tshegohaco. Let's hear what she had to say.
Sometimes you only to find out betray. But so umntana
3 days before he goes back.
3 days before he goes back.
Well, the grandmother there to really just speaking about, how shocked the family really is when such an incident has taken place. They were in court as the brief appearance took place of Andile Mthembu, and she's really just said, that, they are very shocked at what has taken place, and they are really hurt at what has happened, because now they need to start with the preparations, the funeral preparations of the 16-year-old who has now passed away. And what she has really said, something that has also been echoed here by the neighbors, that Andile was a quiet person, but also she kept to herself, and they really did not know much about her. But they are really saying that it really has been quite a shock for this particular area. And we understand that she had been living here for about 3 or 4 years now.
I guess, Tshegohaco, before we let you go, the grandmother speaking of a betrayal, it's not just the loss of a young life, but also they dug a trench and hid the body in there.
Absolutely, Dudu, and that is quite the gruesome part about it. So the incident, of course, then took place, and interestingly enough, Andile, we understand, she reported her nephew missing to the police on about the 26th of March of 2022, and she reported him missing to the police, and then the police then found out that she had actually dug this hole in the house, just in the back of this particular house. She dug a hole, and that's where they then buried the body. But interestingly enough is that she said to the people that she had requested to dig this hole that she actually wants to add a JoJo tank in that hole, because we do know that Tsakane has often struggled with water issues. So she told the people that she actually wants to add a JoJo tank in that hole, but nonetheless she then decided that that is where she would bury the body of her nephew.
Tshegohaco Moagi, you had mentioned that she had a 14-year-old, or she has a 14-year-old that she instructed to pin down the 16-year-old as she was assaulting him. Just behind you, as you were bringing us the story, we do see someone peeping in the house. What do we know about the state of that child and whether there's somebody that is looking after them, if we've been able to establish?
Well, at the moment, we do know that in this very house, there's an elderly lady who is here, and we did see a younger child as well. We understand that they came back not so long ago, about an hour and a half or so. We've been here for most of the day today, and we understand that they've been back here for quite some time. We don't know the state of this young child. We have tried to get into conversation with the elderly woman. We have seen her walking in and out of the yard. We have tried to get into conversation with her just to get an understanding from her side who she is and how they are currently doing as a family in this situation. But they just keep looking through the window. She has requested that we just leave her alone. And we do understand that the 14-year-old is here indeed. Initially, there were reports that the 14-year-old would actually also be part of this murder case. But on the charge sheet, only Andile Mthembu has been charged with the murder and contravention of justice, and also with perjury. So that is all that we know at the moment. Very little details about this 14-year-old. We understand that she also had another child. She had 2 children, and we're just trying to get more information about where the second child could possibly be.
Tshegohaco Moagi, thank you very much for that update.